Our school was founded in a world that was exploding with change. In 1785, Catherine the Great ruled in Russia. Napoleon began to attend military school at the age of 16 in Paris, and Lord Cornwallis had surrendered at Yorktown only 4 years before. Philadelphia was the largest city in the United States with a population of about 35,000 people. And the United States was in the infancy of its existence. The country had yet to settle into normalcy. Episcopal was founded in a different time. It was a time of racial intolerance, pervasive patriarchy, and religious division. As denomination-specific schools began to spring up in the area, the founders, to quote Episcopal historian and alumnus Charles Latham, naturally wanted a school which would represent the religious beliefs of their denomination. I was surprised to learn that they took that idea further. They added the concept of training young men for the ministry to the goals for the school. And a third fundamental purpose was intended to be the teaching of some students at zero cost to them. Obviously, much has changed in 227 years. Episcopal is no longer a school of Protestant white boys. Much like the country, we as a school have evolved, and so too has our chapel program. Aside from attending chapel and 2 religious classes in the upper school, the compulsory religious activities here are non-existent. And it is for this reason that Reverend Squire, the administration, and the vestry hope to employ our illustrious chapel program to effect character development and worship. Our goal is to provoke thought among the student body about faith, about morality, and about the world. You have a major role in these conversations. Yes, this is an Episcopalian service. Reverend Squire is an ordained Episcopalian priest, and this building has been consecrated. But the fact that our service comports to one denomination of faith does not deny us the ability to facilitate an invaluable dialogue for you, the congregation. The messages you will hear this year are not designed for any exclusive group of people, nor can they benefit only one portion of the student body. It will be to your benefit to look hard for these messages. I love quotes, especially ones that are easy to remember. Show forgiveness, speak for justice, and avoid the ignorant. All right, I'm going to go off book for a second. Does anyone want to venture a guess as to where that quote is from? Please don't be afraid to raise your hand. No? All right, you guys weren't going to get it anyway. It's from the Quran. It's chapter 7, verse 199. That's not a cited Christian quote. It's from the Quran, but it's absolutely worth internalizing. And with regard to our chapel theme this year, I do not doubt that some of you roll your eyes when you hear the word God. But please, do not dismiss something just because of its implied meaning. The vestry has worked tirelessly, year in and year out, to bring in people whose words you can benefit from, and I cannot commend them enough for that. Everything you hear in chapel this year is going to deserve serious analysis and rigorous questioning, and you will never be asked to accept something blindly. And many messages you hear this year will be delivered in a Christian frame of mind, because we are a Christian school. But not everything that these speeches have to offer concerns religion. Consider these words by the former head of the Anglican Church, the Archbishop of Canterbury, William Temple. It is a great mistake to suppose that God is only, or even chiefly, concerned with religion. And I had the chance to discuss this briefly with Dr. Rowe, and we thought that maybe a higher power would be more concerned with who we are as people and not worried about how strictly we follow the doctrine of a singular church. God is personal. I have grappled with my faith countless times and realized that faith is not synonymous with the doctrine of a singular church. And although forcing religious dogma on children has become a sort of accepted standard in this country, realize that even though we are an Episcopalian school, you are not compelled to pray. But instead, you are armed with diversity in both your classes and in the chapel. And the reason we can embrace diversity is that we are clear on our identity as a Christian school. You are not obligated to agree with everything you hear in chapel, only to listen. And I mentioned during convocation yesterday that you will hear speakers that you disagree with. But please remember that these encounters can be some of the most productive. Learning from an opposing viewpoint is a seldom taught skill, even though it is infinitely useful. Chapel is a place for worship and celebration of faith. So consider clearing your mind and really listening to what someone has to say. Ask yourself questions. Try to internalize what you're hearing. Enjoy listening to the stories of others. We will bring in a lot of great storytellers this year. and remember not to make the same mistakes that they might highlight. The power of inquiry and involvement is a vaccine against ignorance. You live in a world that is a far cry from Philadelphia in 1785. The country is edging towards unprecedented religious tolerance, but there is still work to be done. And much like at Episcopal, the system will always have room to improve. When you eventually graduate and go on to college and to your adult life, I think it will be easier to appreciate chapel. Your coworker will not give a talk to his colleagues about a life-changing illness. You won't have the opportunity to listen to a bishop from war-torn Sudan, and you will rarely encounter a wrongfully incarcerated death row inmate willing to share his story. The chapel at Episcopal brings these people to you every other day for 4 years. The world is isolated in the sense that people carry their advice and their experience internally. But the Episcopal community, and specifically our chapel service, will continue to be the opposite. In order to make chapel more transparent, the vestry is currently in the process of reworking how we approach speakers. And the question has always been asked, why are some people compelled to tie their speech into the theme, but others are not? To clarify, moving forward, every speaker we bring in will be asked to deliver an address that benefits or informs the upper school. And when we have finished deciding on that policy, we will let you all know. Chapel is what you make of it. And if you find only one message buried in a chapel talk this year, and you act on it, and you grow as a person, then the chapel program will have absolutely succeeded. Above all of the founders' goals in 1785, the underlying purpose was to create a, quote, first-class school. And they have succeeded in that today, right now, you are getting the finest schooling from the most competent teachers at the most advanced facilities in the history of human education. Your character is being shaped, and you are gaining exposure to the world that is second to none. So count your blessings, and please, sing in chapel. Thank you.